right, welcome back to another episode of the Blueprints Brocast. I'm Austin Tokar.
My name is Jay Cruz.
And this past week, we asked a few of you guys some questions, or asked you guys to give us some questions for the next episode here. So we kind of took the three most popular ones to go with here. So just right off the get-go, first question is, I can't find time to work out. What are your thoughts?
So this one, whenever someone says this one to me, I'm always like I want to always approach it as gently as possible, because right off the bat, I'm kind of like, I want to like kick the door down and like, oh, let me watch what you do in a day.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you there's time. I think we talked about this before, like with money, like, hey, take inventory and figure out what you have before you spend it.
Yeah.
So take inventory of your time. Like, okay, what do I actually do with my time? We talked about using the phone and having screen time, and like, okay, how much time do you spend on your screen?
Yeah.
Well, that's one already. Like, okay, so let's handle social media, get off of social media and you'll find time. But then let's ask ourselves, okay, how fit are you? And how much time do you need to have an effective workout?
Mm-hmm.
If you're completely out of shape, 10, 15 minutes is enough to start with. Like, if you have to have a starting point.
Yeah.
So if you could find 10, 15 minutes just to walk, if you're like super overweight and you can't do a lot of things, walking is a great way to start. And it's a great way to learn something as well. So go out and walk, get your favorite podcast, listen to us, 45 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is.
Yep.
And just go walk, and you can find that time.
Yeah.
Another way to do it is like, okay, you have your subscriptions to Netflix, Disney Plus, all that stuff. Watch whatever. And while you're watching it, hey, find some time to do some like push-ups during that time, do some sit-ups, do some squats. You can find time to do very basic movements and to get yourself at least more fit than you are currently if you have, quote unquote, no time.
Yeah.
And then to fully maximize that, completely cut out the watching TV. I remember I have friends that always tell me, hey, did you catch the game, or did you catch this show? Have you been watching the show? And I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. And they're like, you don't have time for that?
Yeah.
I was like, no, because I spend an hour and a half a day to 2 hours working out. So I just swap the time I would be spending a game or spending watching a game or watching that Netflix show, and I'm like, I'm working out instead.
Yeah.
So find the time that you have of the things that you feel like, oh, you quote unquote have to do these things. Just cut those things out and then supplement it with working out instead. Just swap it out.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you have to really take inventory of your time. Everyone has time for something. It's just a matter of what you're going to prioritize. So for most people, when they want to get into training, they probably have, their social media, their television, other things that they're putting their time into. But if you really want to put in effort for something, you're going to have to make time, right? So just take inventory throughout the day, what you're doing, how many hours you're spending doing that, or minutes, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then say, hey, I got a little bit of free time right here. Let's start with that. And you don't even have to do that really. Just like what you said, start walking. Like, walking is the easiest possible thing anyone can do. There's low entry fee to it. Everyone can do it, and you can do other things while you're doing it. You can watch TV if you want while you're walking. And you got to stop thinking of working out as just like lifting weights. There's a lot more to it than that. You could do body weight exercises and do walking. That's part of the other question, but we'll go too into it. But yeah, so it's a matter of what you're prioritizing in your life. So I would say push some other things to the side, make time for it. I do it earlier in the day, because most people, when they start, they don't want to work out generally. So make it the first thing you do during the day, so you don't have to like think of it later on the day. And you're thinking like, oh, I don't want to really work out. And you're thinking of all these excuses you can do. Plus, things just pop up in the first place. So you might as well get done first thing in the morning, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's done when it's done.
A couple other things I just thought of. Maybe you don't have time and you have to like squeeze it in somewhere. I know a lot of times, a lot of people that I know on their like breaks, instead of just like sitting down, which will actually make you more tired before going back to work. Like, especially if you have a desk job, if you take a break and you just like, go do something, you just veg out on your phone for 15 minutes for your break. that's actually going to make you more tired because you're still using your brain while you're on your break. Well, if you just go outside and walk for that 15 minutes, you're going to boost your energy levels back up, and you're going to get yourself back into a good rhythm to work. You're going to get more energy. Your blood's going to be flowing, and you can get back to work with a little bit more energy. That's a good way to get exercise that way. Or like you say, well, I want to spend time with my family. Well, that's a great way to spend time with your family, is to work out with them, even if it's just a walk. Like, hey, go out on a family walk. That's a great way to still use your time the way you want to use it, but incorporate other people into it. So.
Yeah. Back in Monterey, I wanted everyone to have family time. Like when I moved back with my parents, I would make them go on walks when we go to Monterey. You know, it's like you have, how many miles is that from the County Road to like Lover's Point?
That's a good walk.
Yeah. Or maybe that's just 2 miles right there. Yeah, that's an easy walk, right? But you know, mom, she doesn't want to do any exercises and stuff like that. So it's the easiest way to get her to do it, but also spend time with your family, right? Yeah. So think of low barrier entry for things like that.
Yeah. All right. The second question is, I don't have access to a good gym. What are some recommendations? Because I built my own gym, so that was kind of like a question that was asked.
Yeah.
You go first.
Yeah, I mean, we've all experienced it. I mean, those of us without a gym, you know, your own personal gym, because we just went through COVID, right? So everyone at one point had no access to a quality gym for the most part. So you got to start using your brain, man. It's like, okay, what's gonna tax my body, you know, that I'm not doing already? So you could do push-ups, you could do pull-ups, you can walk, you can run, you can sprint, you can do any one of those things. You just got to be, you know, think outside the box a little bit. Like I said before, training is not just in the gym. You don't have to lift weights specifically. You can do things outdoors. You can do things indoors. You just got to get creative. I remember taking those 5-gallon jugs, those water jugs, throwing those over my back, one in each arm, and like doing body weight squats and lunges with those things. And I'm just like, all right, this is a pretty good workout. I got to do a lot of reps, but I mean, yeah, I'm still stimulating the muscle to a certain degree. Just play around with it. Just look around your room, find something, move around with it, lift it, do something with it. You know, that you got to start somewhere, right? Just start thinking about it. I mean, that's why you're asking us, but I'm telling you what I did during COVID. I was just like, freak, I don't have a gym anymore. What am I going to do? I'll lose all my gains. So it's like,
yeah, I think if you're passionate about fitness and getting fit and just wanting to move, you'll find a way, like no matter what. I think before I had started building my own home gym, I was just doing push-ups because I was like, I was saving up money to buy my first rack. And I was like, I don't have anything. So I would do push-ups, but push-ups, man, I could do 50 in a row with no problem. So I got a backpack, I filled it with books, I put that on my back, and then I could do only 35. So I made it more difficult for myself. And then with that same backpack, I did squats, and then, pistol squats. If you don't have a pull-up bar, go to the park like you did as a kid and go do pull-ups on the bars there. Or even if you can't do regular push-ups, you can grab one of those bars there, lean against it, and do push-ups. There's like the world. I remember watching this video Mike Rashid did. It was like, oh, the world is your gym. And he was like, it was kind of like overproduced.
Goofy, bro.
But the whole point is like, you can find a way to work out, whether it be like milk jugs, 5-gallon water bottles. There's a way to just use different things. Also, if you need ideas and if what we're saying is hard and you don't get a visual, there's a bunch of Facebook groups that have like DIY home gym stuff that you can look on there, and you can build your own. Now, I don't recommend doing all the stuff that they do on there because they build some like super sketch, like squat racks.
There's some ghetto stuff on there.
Yeah, super sketch stuff. But for the most part, they show you ways you can just even build your own. You get like a pipe, and then you can build like your own weights out of like cement and things like that. So there's ways to do it if you really want to. But if you don't want to, then you won't. Just the same way you won't find time to do it, you won't find a way to work out if you don't want to.
I remember when I started calisthenics, this is before I got really into bodybuilding, I'd just look up a bunch of calisthenic videos on YouTube, and you'd see guys in New York, they pop on the lights, the street lights, and they'd be doing pull-ups on them, bar hangs, whatever they can on there. just looking at different things, what they can do on it. I think there was a whole tutorial of like, hey, if you don't have a gym, just use signs, poles, whatever to do stuff on them, something like that, something to that effect. But I was just like, okay, it looks extremely weird, but I mean, like if you want to make something happen, you're gonna do whatever.
Yeah, I think one of the most effective exercises I've ever done for my legs was if you just get into an open area and you do just continuous long jumps, like, or standing broad jumps, and you just jump as hard as you can and you keep doing it over and over and over, man, you will get closer to nausea and throw up stage faster than just doing squats. And you because it just stimulates your muscles a different way. If you do it all the time, though, obviously it's not going to hit you the same way, but you'll be stronger than someone that does squats sometimes because you're using your muscles in a more dynamic way. And just athleticism, like that helps out with that as well. But I would just say, like, man, if you really want to do all the things, if you want to find the time, if you want to actually get physically fit, you find the time find the time and a way for all the things.
Let's start a little list right here, just because I'm thinking about it right now.
Okay.
So like Jack's Park in Monterey, they have that long stairway, that goes up into the hills. I would take a backpack and I would stuff it full of stuff, and then I would do steps, lunges up the stairs, and then just walk back down. Obviously, you don't want to have a bunch of weight in your back, jumping down. And then squats up the stairs. Every step I took, do a squat all the way up the stairs. And I think there was like 200 steps total in that place, which is a lot when you're doing squats and lunges the whole way up. So your legs are going to be wrecked by the time you do that. Again, we're talking about push-ups. If you can't do a regular push-up, you can do an incline push-up. Find a bench somewhere, just lean on that and break out some push-ups on that. Regular push-ups. If you can find a park where you can work out at, and a lot of parks, they have this stuff, the equipment there. It's kind of dorky looking, but some of the stuff works.
Yeah,
like they have workout equipment at these parks. I've seen like this makeshift pendulum squat. It looks a bit sketch. I don't know how much you can weigh on that thing, but you can use it. They had pec decks I've seen, and this is all body weight stuff. It uses your body weight to do the movement. Pull-up bars, even those zip lines. Those, I mean, we're talking about elementary school parks now, but
you're out there though.
Yeah, but you could use it. Use that and hang on it, swing from one side to the other. Stuff like that. Anything that's going to cause you to strain the muscle is going to. Well, sorry, not strain the muscle. That's not strain the muscle.
Stress.
But stress the muscle. Yeah. Excuse me.
Another cool thing that you can do to implement kind of both is maybe you're somebody that, I don't really like to sweat when I work out, and that's okay, because like you can still get a workout and do things. Imagine this, like every hour that you're awake, you do like 5 squats, 3 push-ups on the hour, just every hour on the hour. And if you did that throughout the day, I'm not going to do the math because I don't want to sound dumb right now. But if you even did that for 10 hours of the day, you did 50 squats and 30 push-ups. That's more than you would have done if you didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And that will get you somewhere. Somebody think, well, that's so little, that's not going to do anything. Well, I don't think people realize that their calves are super strong because they walk all the time and they're using them all of the time. Yeah. So if you did something like that every single day, your recovery is so much faster, and you could do 50 squats and 30 push-ups every single day because your recovery is so fast, because you're not, getting to the point of failure. But you'll get stronger so that when you do find the time and you do get the equipment, or you do get to a gym, you'll be ready and prepped and primed to do bigger and better things then, rather than just like, I'll just wait till I have the perfect scenario, or I'll just wait till I have the perfect amount of time. If you do it now, it gets you to where you want to be faster. It's like an investment. If I just save $1 right now, it's nothing in appearance sake, but I keep doing it, I'm going to have a whole lot to do with, or a whole lot of capital to do something bigger with down the road if I just start now with the very little.
Yeah. And full disclaimer, when you're doing those body weight workouts, anything like that, you're not going to get huge. Oh, you're going to get big relative to the stress you're putting on the muscle. So yeah, like that's why you see all these calisthenic guys, they're not big, but they're super shredded. Just don't think you're going to look like a bodybuilder doing this stuff.
Yeah. That's a good disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. Last one.
All right. What do you do when you face failure?
It's a very general question.
Yeah.
So let's split it up into two parts. So life failures and and training failures, because I feel like those are two different things, but you can handle them in kind of the same way. But for life failures, I don't see life. So when I was younger, I would see things as failures because I was like, oh, that broke, or that didn't come through like the way that I thought. But now that I'm older and I look back at all those specific moments where I'm like, oh, this was a failure, that was a failure. It grew character in me. It grew knowledge in me. So it did something. So if I look back at it and just encapsulate it as that was just a failure of my life, I wish that never happened. There's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have or be today if I had not gone through that hardship. And I feel like people avoid hardships at all costs because they think that, oh, that doesn't feel good. But it always produces, if you look at it and you take the lesson or you lean into whatever the issue is, you grow from it and you become better. Now, if you just run from failure all the time, your whole life, then you're never going to grow. You'll never mature, and you will see it as failure. So me personally, I don't see things as failures. Yes, maybe sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish that went better or went differently. But then if I make sure I pull out oh, this was the win that I got from that, then I don't look back and see things as failures.
Yeah. So I just want to bring up, just as like it's not a prequel, but it's called like a pre-disclaimer. I don't know how to say it, but anyways, just think back. Actually, think now. Think how easy you can look things up now. Like you Google something, it comes up instantly. You go on TikTok, whatever video you want to see, that algorithm is gonna bring it up almost instantly. You keep scrolling, the algorithm memorizes what you like, and you'll constantly get these little dopamine spikes from liking all these videos. Let's say the podcast, you can find podcasts you like constantly. So everything's kind of catered towards ease of passage now. Like everything is easy. You have to remember, like, just 10 years ago, things were much harder to get. Like it was hard to find things like YouTube videos. You try to find a certain YouTube video, you'd have to search so many different videos. It didn't have the whole little hashtags and all that stuff it has now to find something. But anyways, we'll back to my main point.
I know you're going somewhere for that. I'm just waiting for it to drop.
I was like, I probably shouldn't go down that route. But anyways, you have to remember to get really uncomfortable because, like I said, everything now is very, very easy. And you have to remember that failure is going to be uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable, and it's going to happen a lot. But you have to remember, like, hey, it doesn't matter if I fail this time because my end goal, I have to reach it some way. And you're finding these different routes, these different avenues that just don't work for the goal you're trying to achieve.
So with fitness, I would say it's a little different. So I think right now the recommendation for a lot of people is, hey, film yourself working out and have like a log of what you're doing so that later on you can say, oh, here's how I've improved. I think it's super valuable to log everything you do or take videos so that you can watch like your form and all these things. A year from now, you could be lifting the same exact weight and you could say, man, I failed. I'm not getting stronger. I'm not getting better. But then if you do close research between like a bench or a squat that you used to do to what you do now, maybe you changed your form, or maybe you can do that squat way more controlled than you did before. And you're actually technically stronger and you're better because you're not going to hurt yourself. And then now you have a better base to grow and become better. I think a lot of people see like failures with lifting, like, hey, I'm not where I feel like I should be. But think about where you would have been if you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like it's a success, like you're doing well. Now, a setback, like for me, like, so I have tendonitis or tennis elbow or something like that. And I was talking with Austin earlier and I was like, man, so hey, have you ever had any clients that had issues with their elbow? And he's like, well, you probably want to just lay off of it for like a week or two. And so because I don't like setbacks, I'm like, well, that's not an option, And I think most lifters are like that. They're like, well, I can't just not lift.
Yeah.
But it's also something I haven't tried. So I'm willing to say, okay, if I want to go forward, because I feel stalled out. If I want to go forward, well, I got to rest myself and be okay, being, once again, uncomfortable, like okay with being uncomfortable, just not lifting with that muscle so that I can get better. And sometimes a setback is your body specifically telling you like, hey, you're going too hard, you're going too often, and I need some rest, or you need to change the way you're doing something. It's most of the time for me, it's a signal to me telling me, hey, you got to change your habits. Either your diet's got to change, stop eating so much sugar. Because for me, if I eat sugar, I get inflammation, and then everything hurts.
Yeah.
So I had to stay away from that. But fitness setbacks and fitness failures, they're just different, and they're on a case-to-case basis a lot of the time. But I would say make sure that you're tracking what you do through video, maybe your measurements, your weight, and your lifts. So all three, because a lot of people are very one-dimensional in the way that they scale their progress, or they look at their progress like, oh, I'm bigger, okay, so that I'm better. But I mean, that's a thing if that's your only goal, but we should always want to be stronger too. So sometimes you don't see progress maybe in your size, but maybe you do in your weight. So like your composition looks better, but you're not as strong. Or I mean, your composition gets better, but you don't get stronger. But you still got better in some aspect.
Yeah.
So just have more of a 3 to 4 dimensional look at your progress, so that you can actually capture whether or not you are truly failing, or whether you are progressing, but it's just in a way that you didn't expect.
Yeah. I think if we look at things like I heard this once before, I forget who said it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people said it. But if you look at things as an inverted U, and then you have this scale of like, okay, how much failure do I need? You don't want to be at the bottom, because that's not enough. You don't want to be at the top. That's too much for you to handle. You want to be somewhere right in the middle. And then that's enough for you to take on, where you can use that to progress, go further along. So like, let's put this in like training terms. Well, let's say you're bench pressing. You want to get your bench press up. Well, you want to train your chest, to failure, but you don't want to train it to a point where you're starting to tear the muscle. So you want to tax it as much as you can, get the most out of that muscle, fatigue it, so you can't do any more reps. But if you're pushing it past that point, and you're trying to force a little more than that, then you're going to tear something. So that's too much. You also don't want to do too little, because you're not going to stimulate enough fatigue for the muscle to recruit other muscle fibers in order to grow, right? So same thing kind of in life. If you're constantly failing, then there's an issue there. There's either you're looking at things the wrong way, you're not giving things enough time, or what's that other one I put? I feel like there's a third one with that.
Not looking at the right way. You're not giving enough time, or you're not doing enough. You're personally not doing enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not putting in the work.
Yeah.
That would be the third one to me.
Yeah. But then you also don't want to have no failure, because you don't learn anything. Mm-hmm. And then everything you do is just like, oh yeah, I'm constantly winning. Right?
All I do is win.
Yeah. At that point, you don't learn any lessons. And eventually when you do get hit with failure, it's kind of like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
And then you either quit, or you're kind of like, oh, well, maybe I go for it. I don't know.
Yeah. My daughter, when she started volleyball, their team won like every single game. Like they had maybe like 10, 12 games during the whole season. They won every game up to like the 10th game. But in the 11th game, they lost. And everyone on their team was like crying. Like they were just upset, because they're used to a win, just a win.
Yeah.
And now my daughter, like they've lost enough games, like between club volleyball and school volleyball, that if she loses now, she's like, oh, it's a loss, but we'll come back the next one.
Yeah.
So you understand, hey, I have to learn from whatever my mistake was. I have to learn from what we did wrong, correct that, course correct, so that the next game we'll win and do better. And that's the whole point of like training and failure. Training in failure, like train to failure, like you're saying, but training to failure in life. Like if you don't give yourself even the opportunity to fail, you don't learn, and you don't progress, you don't change. And I think the biggest issue with all three of the things we just talked about is people are afraid of change, is what it comes down to. You're afraid to have some sort of change, but you got to do something to turn that switch to make progress. I mean, and that's why we exist. That's why this podcast exists. The Blueprints Brocast, bro. That's why this podcast exists, is so that we can help you guys find a pathway to becoming better.
Yeah.
So,
I just watched a TikTok on this. It's an anime, One Piece.
Of course it is.
I've never watched One Piece. Well, I have watched a few episodes, but it's too long. I don't want to catch up with that. It's like over 1,000 episodes.
Oh gosh.
I don't know if I want to spend that time. But I did see where they're saying like, how did Luffy get stronger than, I forget the guy's name, get stronger than him while he was already stronger than Luffy at this certain point? Well, it's because the guy was already the strongest guy on this island, right? Mm-hmm. And once Luffy beat him, he had another opportunity to get stronger. This guy doesn't get stronger because he doesn't leave the island. He's the strongest guy there. But Luffy goes into other places where he has to fight stronger people, and he loses, and he has to come back, and adapt to that, and eventually beat whatever guy's there, right? So if you never change your environment, you never try to actively pursue failure, then you're never going to get better. You can stay there and you can sit there and do nothing.
Yeah, and it's hard to wrap our minds around that and to be like okay with it, because like it doesn't feel good, but it's always positive in the end as long as you're using it and directing it correctly. Like all the feels of failure, like if you're not directing it towards the right way, yeah, you can wallow in it and cry and just be in self-pity, but you're like, oh no, I'm doing this for a purpose. So
yeah.
Well, hopefully you guys got some sort of tip out of those three. We would love to do more of these in the future. So as long as you guys have questions, we'll put a couple of them together and we'll answer them for you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you in the next podcast.